Hey guys, I don't know about you, but isn't it lovely to just have the weekend in front of you? No PSG for a change. We can just watch Chelsea get tired playing Newcastle, see Lens hopefully drop some point in Lorient, and just get ready for the return of the Champions League in London next week. The only two things that are souring my mood a little bit. One, last year when we had the week off in between Champions League game, it led to a defeat in Aston Villa. And the second thing is some recurring defensive issues that we've been facing. We get 2 goals scored on us against Chelsea, and if they're going to have any chance of climbing back a 3-goal deficit, I've got to say our defensive weakness is the only thing that's giving me a little bit pause. So let's talk about this and let's just debrief where we are and like each player individually, what's the snafu about. So yes, we've been having defensive trouble for I think most of this season, if I'm honest. I don't think we ever got to a place of stability when it comes to our defense, of really feeling like we're in a good place, we were last season. It started with our players being tired, or counter press not being as effective, to some doubts about the individual players, some gaps, and so on and so forth. And I think right now, like, there's really quite a few little things, little bits of trouble here and there that we haven't really completely dealt with, and that really are starting to add up and really cause a lot of questions. And I think, the game against Chelsea in the park this week, yes, we win 5-2, and it's a great result, and we're super happy about this. But let's be honest that at the 74th minute, it's 2-2, and we don't look like a team that's going to be winning with a 3-goal lead. So we need to be careful about that. And I'm not forgetting as well that the time before that, when we played Chelsea, they did score 3 goals on us. That was the final of the Club World Cup, and we didn't score back. So yeah, let's just be a little bit mindful. In terms of defensive trouble, I think I'll go player by player because I think there's tactical stuff involved, and hopefully we can cover that as we go, but there's a lot of individuals as well. Starting with goalkeepers. It's been the issue of the beginning of the season, Chevalier making mistakes, and we switched to Safonov, who's in general, I think, a little bit more reassuring. But I've got to be honest, it hasn't been a complete game changer in terms of the level of performance at the position. Yes, I'd say Safonov in general is less error prone than Chevalier. There's no huge mistakes or less huge mistakes like Chevalier had quite a few times. But Safonov is also not really impressing with as many big stops as what Chevalier sometimes did. And I think in his distribution, there's been times where he's also less than impressive. Overall, I don't think this one is a debate, at least not for right now. But from what I've seen so far, I think we're setting ourselves up for once again needing to have a goalkeeper conversation in the summer and during the mercato. And I really wish that, Safonov, he would kind of take away the little bit of rough edges in his game. The mistakes he made on Chelsea's first goal, for example, having a little bit of a weekend, literally, if you take that away from his game, he ends up with a really solid performance. So we're not talking about a huge gap. It's just sending down some rough edges. And beyond that, yeah, I think I'd like for him to be, I think, a little bit more decisive sometimes. But let's be honest, we'll see how it goes throughout this season. He's not. I think he's borderline between the level where it feels like he's going to be costing us our run at some point, and a level where if everyone else is at the top level, we can still hope to go back to back. I'm not saying we will or anything. You know me, I'm like cautious and like really, I'm not. It's not my expectations now. But just when it comes to Safonov, that's kind of the level of performance. That's where it makes me a little bit nervous because it feels like at some point he might be the guy who's going to be costing something for us, and I think that'd be pretty horrible. So we'll have to see. But for now, that's kind of where we stand with the goalkeepers anyway. Ultimately, for the next 3 months, it's not like we've got any options anyway. I don't think Chevalier return is really credible. From what we're hearing, like mentally, he's kind of dropped off as well. Chevalier, that is. So yeah, it's really like not an option at this point. Then, if you move upward in the defense, I think the big one that we have to talk about, and honestly it pains me to talk about, is Marquinhos. Marquinhos, throughout the season, has been below where we know he can be as a player. And honestly, for me, I will say like a large portion of it, I've said like, yeah, because he's 31, he's been playing at the top level for 23 years at this point. And obviously having to play so many games, going through last season, lifting the Champions League as captain, and then having to go through another season without any summer prep at his age, of course, he's going to be the one that's suffering. And of course, it's going to show in terms of his fitness level and what he shows physically. I still think it's a fair point, but I think we're at the point of the season where he should have been able to catch up and he should have been able to climb back. And honestly, his performance against Chelsea and how much he suffered versus Pedro Neto, it's really worrisome. Because, you know, what happens in the next round if we can qualify and all of a sudden it's not Pedro Neto, it's Ekitike or Vert or Isaac coming at him. I think that's another caliber of player and it's making me very, very nervous. Ultimately, like, it is what it is. We knew Marquinhos has always been the kind of player that came with his flaws. Anyway, he's never been like a completely transcendental defender. I think he's always been like a whisker short of world class, if you ask me. And he's been, you know, he has his good moments, he has his bad moments, he has his good season, he has his bad seasons, and I think a lot of time he compensates what is lacking in terms of pure skill and quality with the mentality and the love of the club and the engagement, the personal engagement that he has. And those are like great qualities. And honestly, as a PSG fan, I love that about Marquinhos. He's our captain. He's the guy who's played the most game with the PSG shirt in PSG history. He's the captain that lifted the Champions League. He's won more trophies than literally like anyone in world football. So like, there's nothing bad to say about Marquinhos. And you know, in a football world where now like players move clubs so often, it's all about the money. It's all about this and that. Having a player with some loyalty like Marquinhos, who really like incarnates the club and the spirit of the club, it's super important, and I'm really, really valuing that. And I think he still has some a role to play. I think what's really hard is that because he's such like an outsized personality within the framework of PSG, he's such a club legend and so on. You cannot like realistically phase him down a little bit. You cannot go like, hey, you know, Marquis next season, you're not gonna be a starter anymore. Like, you're not gonna be captain anymore. Like, you cannot take like the captain armband from him. Like, and so I think it puts us in a really hard situation of Marquinhos. It's all or nothing. And I do think he can perform at a higher level than he is this season. I think with proper summer prep and fitness work and so on. And I think with Hakimi at a stronger level as well, I think he can be much stronger than what we're seeing. But yeah, he's closer to the end than the beginning. And at some point, whether it's this summer, whether it's the year after, whether it's the year after that, we're going to have to move to a post-Marquinhos world, and it's going to break my heart. I'll be very upfront, honestly. And I'm not pushing him out. I'll say that up front as well, because I know a lot of people are saying like, oh, you know, like this summer it's over. Like, let's push him towards Saudi Arabia and just be done with Marquinhos, and he's done his time. I don't buy that. I think, you know, he's been loyal to the club. We should be loyal to him as well. When it's time, he'll get to decide it's time. And, you know, I'm going to hold myself to that. So we'll see. Maybe like Marquinhos knows and feels it, and he's like, you know what, this summer, like, I've done my time. I'm going to go get some millions in Saudi Arabia for 3 years or 5 years. Thank you for everything. And I'll come back after, or like I'll do something after. Entirely possible. But yeah, I think he gets to be the one who decides. And I think in terms of what we can expect of him this season, I think like with the pressure ramping up, and the further we go in the Champions League, I think we're gonna get a Marquinhos at a better level, because like I think for him that little music and like the stories that he has with PSG in the Champions League is so rich and so like complex, and so with so much heartbreak and so on, that for him, I really imagine that that it's something special, and that when he comes on the pitch for the Champions League, it's something special, and it's something that profoundly matters to him. So we'll see. I think he can turn in games with at a better level. If not, like, we'll have to talk about Zabarni at some point, and I think he's becoming a credible option as well. But yeah, for now, like, I think it's going to be Marquinhos. And I think the last thing as well about his Chelsea game, just very quickly, we're going to turn into gossip now. But so Marquinhos, it's one of like the things that I try to keep track with the players, because I think it matters a lot more than we typically think. So he and his wife actually had their 4th kids about a week ago, 10 days ago now. So really, like, not long before the Chelsea game. And sadly, like, that kid apparently, like, this, I didn't get all of the details, but like, apparently he had some medical issues and he was in the hospital, and like had some breathing assistance as well for a while. So it sounded like relatively worrisome. Once again, I don't have all the details, so I'm not going to go into it. But I think, like, you know, you've got to respect the fact that like the guy just had a kid who's apparently like having some sort of trouble, and we don't know how bad it is or how much, but like he's still like on the pitch and he's still giving it all his all for the club. And I think, yeah, like we talk about loyalty, like really Marquinhos time and time again, like, yeah, he's the man for us. So let's take that into consideration as well. Next one I wanted to talk about as well very briefly is Hakimi. I think Hakimi is getting back to his top level slowly but surely. I think the post AFCON and post injury has been really difficult for him to manage. He's coming back. He's not quite there yet. I think the second Chelsea goal, there's a lot to be said about him dropping Enzo Fernandez and not really like covering or coming back to cover fast enough. But at the same time, he's also the one who makes the run to act as a decoy on Dembele's goal. He's the one who makes the run to give the assist to Kvara on the 5th one. So there's a lot of production and things that he brings to this team, which are really, really interesting and good for us to have. The only thing I wanted to mention about Hakimi is that it pains me, like, he's actually also like gossip number 2 of the day. He's also facing a trial in France. He's been accused of rape, which is obviously a very serious and worrying accusation. I'm not going to get into the details because I don't know what I don't know, and I don't want to go too far ahead of ourselves. But obviously that's got to be weighing on him a little bit mentally. And I think regardless of whether he's guilty or not, and I want to believe that he's not, and a lot of what we're hearing is kind of pointing towards the fact that he's not. The fact is that right now he's going to be standing for trial, and he's been wearing the captain armband relatively often. In fact, every time Marquinhos is out, he's kind of second in line. And I've got to be honest, I trust the best of Hakimi, and I want to believe the best of him. But I don't think he's right that he's still wearing the captain's armband. He gets to be presumed innocent, and once again, I'm not going to get into the details that I don't know about and so on. But I think in terms of image, and I think in terms of the signal it sends, that's really something that as a club we should reconsider. It's not about like saying he's guilty or anything like this. It's just about saying like, hey, given the troubles that you've got coming your way, you cannot be such a prominent representation of the club, and yeah, like just be the captain of the team. It's just not possible. We'll still play you, we'll still treat you exactly the same, no drama there. But yeah, the captain armband, it's something special, and like yeah, it's a little bit. I don't like that too much. Defensively, though, yeah, like I said, I think he's doing better, and like I think he's getting back to his top level. And I think honestly, like I'll put money on Hakimi being one of the guys who's going to decide how good of an end of the season we're going to get. If he gets back to his top level, watch out, because like Hakimi at his top level, we've seen it last season. There's really like no one can deal with that. So watch out for that. And for me, like, yeah, he's one of the people I've got on my radar screen. Okay, finally, the last one I want to talk about. I'm not going to talk about Pacho. He's been doing a little bit less well recently, but I think he's still at a very high level. I think his game against Joao Pedro was a thing of beauty. So not talking about him, I think like I love Pacho, and no drama there. The last one I'm going to be talking about is Nuno Mendes, because nothing but love for Nuno Mendes, who I still think is probably at this point like the best left back in world football. In fact, like I'm pretty sure he's the best left back in world football. He just still has those drops in concentration, and defensively, it's costing us time and time again, and just it's so annoying. Like I'll just say it, it's so annoying. The goals against Chelsea, the first one, where he follows Cole Palmer to the right side of the pitch and then like decides not to track back and just like stays in the middle doing nothing. I want to rip his head off, honestly. And the second one, there's 4 different people who make a mistake, but his cross towards Doué, that's not good enough, and that's leading to us losing the ball. He's done the same against Monaco. He's done the same, like time and time and time again. He makes the same mistakes. And it's just extremely frustrating, because we saw last season that he was solid and consistent and always on top of things for most of the for all of the second half of the season and most of the last season. So it's really frustrating that he keeps like having those mistakes into his game, because otherwise, yeah, he's such a transformational player. So he's got to do better. He's got to be a bit smarter. I think in the Chelsea game, I thought he was helped a lot by, what I said in the debrief was in the second half, we switched Vitinha and Joao Neves. And I think having Joao Neves further down on the pitch and able to cover and take like the third defender position when Nuno Mendes goes forward, I think that helps him a lot and gives a lot more stability to the team. So I hope that's something that we're going to see again. But yeah, Nuno Mendes is gotta do better. Once again, like I imagine we're in the next round and we're facing Salah again. It's Cole Palmer is you can get control of him, and he's not the most consistent of players either. So he's a difficult one. He's a great player, but it's not impossible to manage for Nuno Mendes. Mo Salah, Lamine Yamal. If we go forward as well, what are we gonna get? Might get Olise for Bayern Munich. Like those guys, you cannot make a mistake. Like it will cost you a goal every time. So he's gonna be doing better, and he's gonna send down those rough edges. Overall, I will say something though, because for all of this talk about our defense and the little flaws that we have and the little gaps that we have, some of it is structural. And we've got to accept that, because the game that Luis Enrique wants this PSG team to play is based on producing offensively. And when we're in position, we have literally 5 players who are into our line of attack. Hakimi goes all the way. One of our midfielder goes all the way. Sometimes Nuno Mendes moves forward as well. And you end up with literally like 3 guys at the back and 1 or 2 midfielders. And so, of course, against like teams who know how to play a transition, sometimes we're going to be caught flat-footed. And that's really like, that's a risk that we see Luis Enrique is aware of, and we see he's willing to accept it because like he wants to play offensive and spectacular football, and I'm all in favor of this. And so, you know, sometimes like, yeah, we get caught. And when I see Pedro Neto taking runs at Marquinhos and Marquinhos having to play 1v1 versus that, yeah, it's super scary and it's difficult because Marquinhos is not dominating, but it's the price we pay for then like being able to score 5 past them as well. So we've got to be balanced in this approach. But yeah, I do think, you know, a little bit more individual quality, a little bit more consistency and collective quality at the back, and a little bit more again on the counter press of our attackers, and we can really come back to our top defensive level of last season, and still knowing that yes, we're going to be conceding games, we're going to be conceding goals. Yes, there's going to be moments where we're going to like shake and quake, and I really believe we'll talk about this probably tomorrow, but I really believe that on Tuesday night in Chelsea, we're going to be shaking in our seats at some point. I'm 100% certain of that. But I think that's the price we pay for having, you know, right now, like we're the number 1 team in terms of goals scored in the Champions League. Say what you want. We've been talking about our attackers like not being clinical enough and so on. We're the number 1 team in terms of goals scored in the Champions League. So that's saying something. So, you know, if that's the price we pay for it, then that's the price we pay for it, and I'm ready to accept it. Anyway, sorry, I've been rambling on for a while. This is what I wanted to say about our defense drama. A lot of little things which I hope we can improve. Let me know in the comment what you think and what is, if anything, like what is that one thing that bothers you the most about our defense this year? What is that thing that you would want us to fix and or do differently? And apart from that, as always, if you've made it this far, please drop a like on the video. Always massively help for getting views on YouTube, which is really the name of it all. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Even if you have subscribed, do make sure that you've clicked on the bell below the video to get notifications when I drop video. It's incredible the amount of people I know who tell me that they are subscriber, but they don't always see the video when they drop. They don't always get the video within the YouTube homepage. So really, really click on the bell to get the notification. And don't forget, drama or not, ici c'est Paris!